You had a bill pass the legislature and it's now awaiting the governor's signature. Talk a little bit about House Bill 2733.
Yes, what this House bill is specifically aimed at doing was making sure that where we have irrigation pipes and where we have drainage pipes and sewer pipes and anything else that might convey water or water from processing to doing work, we could actually generate electricity from there because there's potential energy in that water as it flows through. It's not being used. And a common sense approach that I took on this was that if we could take that potential the energy that's potentially in that water and turn it into electricity, why not turn that back into electricity so that it could go on the grid or go into a farmer's own system and into his house, and he could recoup the cost of operations that way on his farm or her farm. So that was my approach on it, and I thought it was a good idea, having read Initiative 937, and there was provisions in 937 to cover that.
You worked on this bill for a few years now. Why has it taken so long to get it passed?
It took so long to get it passed because we don't have one Washington, like we often hear on the House floor, that we're one Washington. Really, there are very distinct differences between people in Western Washington and those who live in Central and Eastern Washington. Even though we do have farms on the west side of the state here, there's a different way of looking at things, and so I spent basically 3 years running this bill, perfecting it, trying to assure people that I was not trying to destroy Initiative 937, but trying to live within its provisions. There's an actual piece in the initiative, which is now state law, that says anything built after March of 1999 that is small and can be used as renewable energy, such as hydro, they mentioned hydro in there, as well as the other issues, is eligible for renewable energy credits, or RECs. So it took me a while to explain this to the environmental community over here, as well as to people who were not in the environmental community, who were worried that I was perhaps taking something away from I-937, or even taking something away from what we now call renewable energy systems in this state.
You passed the supplemental state operating, transportation, and capital budgets last week. Do you foresee a bipartisan agreement between the House and the Senate?
I do foresee a bipartisan agreement. I know negotiations were going on over the weekend, and there's a definite determination that we're going to work through, get a bipartisan budget, and get out of here on time.
This is the final week of the legislative session. Besides the budgets, are there any other outstanding items?
There are always bills that end up being what's called necessary to implement the budget, NTIB. And I've actually been hearing on the radio two that may not involve any fiscal matter, but have been contentious, and there's work being done on those, and one's a bill for veterans and college tuition, and the other bill is to go towards homeless housing. So those two are no doubt going to get worked out this week too. Those are both important.
How can constituents contact you after session?
Well, when we end this session, constituents can always call our office here in Olympia and talk to my legislative assistant, Al Adet, and our number here is 360-786-7942. Constituents can email me directly. They can email Al, and it's susan.fagan@leg.wa.gov, and all the emails here are the same. You take the person's first name and put a period in between and their last name, and then add @leg.wa.gov. And you can reach anybody over here if you have their first and last name. And we look forward to hearing from constituents. During the interim, we're already making lots of plans. We're, touring schools and factories and visiting farms, and I'll be going to our hospitals in the district and having individual meetings, talking to Rotary clubs. But we have time, and we do encourage our constituents to call us and let us know, reach out to us, because I plan to be out on the ground just as soon as this session is over.